morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. This morning I have been having the privilege of chatting all about the tourism sector here on the island with Councillor Tashia Burris, who's also the Secretary for Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation. Now, we had a huge Tobago contingent that just came back from New York, Barbados, just had an entire heritage festival, and we were talking a bit about the success of tourism agencies throughout this July-August period. You know, we had activations going on almost everywhere.
Yes.
But there's a lot that's still happening, especially in time for Carnival 2025. Tell us a bit about some of the activities that, you know, are now happening. And I don't want to leave out the dodge diving, because I remember last time we spoke, you know,
yes, we did.
that was something to happen, and it happened successfully.
And it happened,
so tell us about some of the activities that are on the calendar.
So for Carnival, and I'm kind of excited because we have some things up our sleeve, because every year we try to keep the Carnival fresh and exciting, and we're always evolving the product. We don't ever want to get into a rut where the Carnival product is concerned. You know, there are some things that are going to be common throughout, but we're always looking for avenues to see how can we, as a Tobago Carnival, can we have a product that people could only experience if they come to Tobago. So there's going to be an unveiling that is going to happen, and that unveiling would be the unveiling of the new tagline, because we had Ritual Revelry release for the first year, which was 2022. And the idea was to have that as a 3-year tagline. And then now we're in year 4. So there's going to be another tagline that is now going to be introduced to the public. And that is going to happen within the first 2 weeks of September. So we're going to be sending out some information regarding that and how members of the public may be able to be part of that very, very special unveiling of the Carnival and the calendar and everything that comes with it. All of the work that has to start in the back end has already started. So the conversations with the stakeholders, you know, treating with the build out of the Carnival and the coordination of the different elements. So it's just for us to simply start to snowball the thing into October. As you can see, some of the branding elements have already started to go up in this space, so that people over the next couple of weeks are going to see more visuals are going to be put into the space. Visuals are going to be rolled out in Trinidad. They're going to see some things happening at the ports of entry, airport and seaport, and you're going to see some things happening in the space in Tobago. So without giving away too much, just know that we are firmly on track to have a very grand Tobago October Carnival from the 1st of October straight down to the 26th or to the end of the month, depending on who's still having parties. But so far, from what I'm hearing, the response has been amazing. I've been speaking to some promoters who have events, and they're talking about the fact that Tobago keeps putting itself on the map where the Carnival is concerned, that their events are growing, that their tickets are flying off shelves. And, you know, people are so excited to come. The only thing right now we're waiting on is the boat tickets to drop, and that should happen first week in September. And we are waiting for the announcement of some additional flights as well, keeping our fingers crossed, so that we can ensure that everybody who wants to come and enjoy Tobago Carnival has an opportunity to do so. But I'm looking forward to, you know, what we have on the table. As I said, Tobago continues to put out consistently high quality standard of cultural product. And the Carnival, not just a tourism product, but it's a cultural product. It showcases the best of who we are, and it brings together the best of who we are. So, I mean, we have been able to, as I said, get that positive buzz generated from the Heritage Festival and those activities, from the Times Square activation, from Carifesta. We're now going straight into Carnival with the excitement.
I'm happy to hear that. But there are certain sectors of the society that have raised concerns, even as it pertains to the Tobago Carnival. So it would be great to hear from you what is being done to address those concerns. We heard from the people in Roxborough about Roxborough wanting to be a key part of that Tobago Carnival, and nobody's going to take away Roxborough Carnival and Juve from Roxborough. You know, they talk about the mud mass in Roxborough, they talk about Roxborough Juve, and these were things that were pivotal to, you know, stirring the economy up at Roxborough during Carnival time. They have expressed feeling a bit left out. And then we have heard persons saying, look at Grenada and how big that you know, the oil and that is, and we can compare that to Tobago having that mud mass?
Yeah.
And how can we use those things to create the same level of buzz as the Grenada Carnival?
Right.
So tell us a bit about that.
So let me address Roxborough.
Yeah.
Right? Roxborough has had a very deep-rooted history in February Carnival. And that is something that, for me, we have to invest in. Like, it can't be, it's not a matter for debate. And it's just a matter of how we treat with that investment. Do we go through the community groups? Do we create the Windward Committee again? I mean, we just have to decide what the model is. And I think that the people of Roxborough are the best people to determine what is the best model, because they have community groups who have been involved from day one. They have a very vibrant police youth club. They have very vibrant civil society organizations. They have very vibrant cultural and sporting groups. So, you know, for us, as government and being the facilitators of the things, we are happy when proposals come to us and people say, we want to do this, we want your support, or we have this idea for this activity, can you guide us on how to get this executed? So I think it's just a matter of us defining what the conversations, when the conversations need to happen, and definitely they need to happen as soon as October is finished, because with the February construct, February Carnival allows us to have carnival activities throughout the island. So whereas in October we have a largely centralized carnival in Scarborough, for February, there is opportunity for us to have carnival activations, whether it be in Roxborough, whether it be in Castara, whether it be in Charlottesville, whether it be in Lowlands, whether it be in Crown Point. It's not bound by, you know, geographic limitations. And because the carnival is proclaimed, there is an opportunity for persons in this space, whether you be carnival groups, whether you be cultural groups, whether you be sporting organizations, whether you be a bunch of people who just have a good idea and you want a place to channel that good idea, that February construct allows the opportunity for us to really blanket the entire of the island with celebrations. So for us, in terms of differentiating between what happens between October and February, one could be looked at as the incubator for the other. So as I said, whereas October is largely centralized in Scarborough, now in February we have the opportunity to celebrate carnival throughout the island of Tobago and have different activations that could stimulate the individual economies in the communities. So again, it's just a matter of defining what that conversation would look like, because it will not just be a Roxborough conversation, because there are people in different spaces who also want to get involved in Carnival in February, and they may not know where to start. So we have an opportunity to give everybody a platform to see how we can grow activities in different spaces during that time in February that allows for us to do that. So Roxborough is not going to be left out. I mean, if there were instances in the past where that happened, certainly that was not the intention to offend anybody or to make Roxborough people feel as if we were forgetting about them and just focusing in other places. It's just for us to ensure that we could just buckle down and make sure that we do all the things that we have to do from a planning perspective very early to ensure that everybody's interests are satisfied at a particular level. The second thing that you made mention of was the mud and the comparison between what we see in Grenada versus what we see in Tobago. Now, I grew up in town. And one of my very, very early memories of anything related to Carnival was sitting in my gallery in Scarborough, waiting for Mudmaster to come down the road on a Tuesday afternoon. And I've probably only played mud once in my life, in essence. But the mud band was the largest thing and still is the largest thing on the road in February. So what we branded the Juve last year was a dirty Juve, and dirty on purpose, because we want to get people into accepting the idea that this is not necessarily a t-shirt mask Juve. Yes, you're going to come to Juve in your t-shirt and it might be very clean and it might be very nice at the beginning. But the idea is by the end of the Juve, we can't recognize what it was the original color of your t-shirt, because this Juve is something that is very, very organic and very, 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 very grassroots. And, when people want to make comparisons between the oil and the mud, Jab is literally almost like a religion in Grenada. When you look at the pictures of Jab, you're seeing little, very tiny children in Jab. And in every community, they teach Jab as a way of life, and people have been playing Jab their entire life. So for us to get to that place, we have to embrace the mud as part of our culture and not be afraid of it, because a lot of times in the past, the mud was corralled, the mud was controlled, the mud was almost hidden. wasn't allowed to come down in town before a particular hour. You know, there was always a kind of pull and tug between the pretty mass bands and the mud and where the placement of the mud is. And, you know, when we created the Tobago October Carnival product, the mud is a central theme. When we talk about ritual, revelry, release, the ritual that we refer to is really mud. That beginning of the mass, because mass before it was beads and feathers and cloth and string and whatever was what we had, and what we had was mud. And that was the mass. And that's the ritual that we talk about, the digging of the mud and the boiling of the mud and the treating of the mud and then applying it to the skin and, you know, everything that comes with playing mud mass. So that for us, there's a lot of work that we still have to do in terms of educating people about the origins of the mud mass and to get people to now embrace the mud as part of our culture. And even when our visitors come, because a number of persons who participate in Tobago October Carnival would be persons who are not residents of Tobago, we also have a responsibility to educate them about what the mud means to us. So there's some work that has to be done there. Maybe because I know there was a documentary that was done, maybe we need to put that out. Maybe that needs to go to international film shows so that or maybe we need to go on a road show and show it in schools, in Tobago, in Trinidad, up the island, so that people would understand what mud means to Tobago, similarly to what jab means to Grenada. And get people to recognize that when you come to a juve in Tobago, you're coming to play mud, you know. So it's not about, you know, because everybody's carnival, again, has different facets. I know that in some carnivals, they actually have t-shirt masks as a part of their carnival. Our juves are dirty juve. So we encourage you to come to the juve and get immersed in the ritual, which is to get the mud on your skin and to understand the freedom that comes with that, the freedom of expression that comes with that, and what it means to us as Tobagonians when mud is concerned. So we have a lot of work to do in terms of educating ourselves and educating the persons that come to Tobago to enjoy carnival about how important mud is and to give it its rightful place as part of our carnival product.
Right, and we're in September and October is just a few short weeks away from now. Tell us about some of the activations that would continue to happen. You said that there would be that revealing. I don't know if that is the official carnival launch, but you know, why is it important for persons, especially Tobagonians, to understand that the carnival is theirs? It's their economic driver and they have a key role to play as it pertains to promoting the carnival. It's not just something that the Festival Commission has to do or that the division has to do, but every business should have a particular Tobago Carnival package happening.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be selling coconuts. There should be a Tobago Carnival coconut special. So how do you know, begin to engage the private sector to understand that, listen, this is your time. And this is, even if you have a spa, you should be having that carnival promotion. Get ready for carnival with us, whatever. Doesn't matter what the sector is. You know, tell us about that.
So I'm glad you asked that question, because about 2 weeks ago, I sat with the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce Tobago division. And those were the exact words that I used to them. This is a carnival that is happening in the capital. And you all have been on record the last 3 years that we've had this carnival talking about how amazing it was in terms of the return on investment and the kind of revenues that you derive from having this carnival product in this space, what it did for suppliers, what it did for retail business, what it did for hotels and restaurants and car rentals and bars and, you know, all of the persons as part of the ecosystem. And it cannot just be looked at as an investment by the Tobago House of Assembly, wholly and solely by the Tobago House of Assembly. You know, ideally, we would want to get to a place where the THA is not necessarily in charge of the carnival, not in charge of all of the assets, all of the aspects of execution and management, but rather we're handing it over to a group of Tobagonians, whether they are an amalgamation of the Tobago October Carnival Association, the Promoters Association, the stakeholder interest groups, the Chamber of Commerce and other business interests, to manage the product as what it is, because it's a nexus between creativity and business. It has to drive something. It has to drive us getting the name of Tobago out there in the international space. And if the platform that we're using is a carnival, we have to make sure that it's well executed. So one of the conversations that I had with them was, how are you guys selling the carnival? Because we don't necessarily want a check from you. We don't necessarily want monetary sponsorship from you. I mean, those things would be nice if you can do it. But what we want you to do is to understand that you have a stake here, and the stake is not just for you to benefit, but how are you helping the thing grow? How are you contributing to the growth of the young persons who are getting involved in Calypso and Soca? How are you supporting Pan Trinbago in their thrust to make Pan universal? You know, how are you supporting the promoters in ensuring that the product that they put out there is a great quality product where events are concerned, and to make sure that they can get a return on investment, because nobody wants to have a party and their party bus, naturally. So how are you guys helping? And we were able to kind of brainstorm and come up with some ways for the business community to get on board. So I'm crossing my fingers that in the coming weeks, we are able to announce how the Chamber of Commerce Tobago Division is going to be getting completely on board with supporting the Tobago October Carnival. And it is my hope that in the next coming days, when we have the conversations with our other stakeholder interest groups, that we get that same kind of enthusiasm and interest, that people understand that it benefits them for this product to succeed, so that the people who have hotels, restaurants, bars, how are we encouraging people to come into the destination? We have a long weekend, the weekend before Carnival. So that you're talking about 2 back-to-back.
Most likely persons are going to stay for the entire week and just go straight to
And that
Carnival.
weekend before Carnival is our Blue Food Festival. So you're talking about this huge event that was already by itself a standalone event of world renown, that is now preceding a carnival, that the name of this carnival is growing in the international space. We have the best opportunity, in my view, in terms of getting everybody on board, to not just understand how important this is to sell the destination, but to really put our products and the best of what we have on show. And in terms of the marketing can't just be looked at singularly in terms of what the THA spends on marketing. But when a hotel puts out their specials 6 months ago, 3 months ago, and they're booking, we are now in contact with the Port Authority. They can tell us, hey, our tickets are going on sale first week in September. How are we now offering packages? Sail and stay. So that you get 4 nights, you get the 5th night 50% off. You rent a car for 5 days, you get the 6th day 25% off. I've seen these things done in other destinations to great success. How are we now getting people to stay in the destination longer and spend more money? How are we generating more revenue through more room nights? How are we collaborating with different experience providers, whether it be the reef tour operators, whether it be the tour guides, whether it be even the persons who are promoting the events? If you stay in my hotel, you get 2 tickets to this particular fete, or you get 2 tickets to this particular boat ride, or you get a discount, or something like that. We have to create some partnerships, some alliances, and some linkages. And it's not just for the THA to do. All of these persons operating in these ecosystems support their business in any which way. A fete promoter is going by someone to buy beers. He's going by someone to get his tickets printed and all his branding done. He's going by someone to get accommodation for the artist that he's bringing up for his event. So these persons already know each other. But how are you supporting each other's businesses in being successful and using this product called a Tobago Carnival to generate even more revenue throughout a sustained period for the month of October?
I'm glad that you said that, and I guess you kind of encompass everything there as it pertains to the private sector. We want everybody to be on board, all businesses. It doesn't matter what you're selling.
Doesn't matter what
you're
selling.
If everybody is promoting a Tobago Carnival special, then eventually there's so much promotion that's happening throughout that there's very little for the division to have to do if everyone is promoting Carnival.
So think about if we were all going to utilize all of our networks. Everybody, most persons are on some type of social media, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Instagram, whether it be TikTok. And let's just say for one random day in the lead up to this carnival, we all just post the flyer, or we post some positive thing about a Tobago Carnival experience. What we now do is literally change the algorithm.
Correct.
So that people are now seeing the picture of you winding down by the I Love Tobago sign and saying, my Tobago Carnival experience was winding down by the by the I Love Tobago sign. And we now are putting out there that my Tobago Carnival experience, and that is shooting up. So people are now seeing that in their feeds. They're now seeing it coming up in their stories. They're now seeing how people have been experiencing this carnival for the last 3 years to get them to say, oh my goodness, this looks like a great time. I need to go there too. Yeah. I'm not saying that everything will be perfect. And I mean, for me, having been in this job for the last 3 years and 8 months, coming to an end in December, I've noticed that other destinations do not post negativity about their destinations. They don't put negativity on the front page. They certainly don't have bloggers who are walking around trying to find the negative news to report about the destination, because this is a competition. People have to understand that tourism is a competition. And when you show up to a competition, you always have to put your best foot forward if you intend to succeed. And if Tobago wants to show up to this competition called tourism, we have to put our best foot forward. We have to have the platforms where we can figure out if anything is going wrong, how we can fix it. But we can fix it quietly. We can fix it behind the scenes. We can fix it, get it done, and move on to the next thing. But not to amplify the negative, not to harp on, something that went wrong, which could have been easily fixed. We really have to become, as I keep saying, the best ambassadors for this destination. An ambassador is not just someone in government. It's not just a secretary or a chief secretary. It's not just somebody who holds a title. Every day you show up, you're an ambassador for your country. I just came from Barbados, and as I was telling you in the break, the guy at the gas station opened the door. He's pumping gas, and he's telling me, "Good afternoon, ma'am." I'm not sure if I look like a mom, but the point is that the manners was all on display. Everywhere you went, people were helpful, people were polite, people were just going out of their way to make sure that you feel safe and you're comfortable and you're having a good time. And I'm not saying that it's impossible for us to do. The easiest way to charge more money is to better your service. And I've told business people that. And you could see the difference in your bottom line when you have the right person who's selling your product at the front line, making sure that your customers are satisfied. It will show in your bottom line. And Tobago's bottom line has to increase because our service needs to get better. Once we recognize that we need to compete, and we realize that the only way we can compete is with the best service possible, then we know we're in the game.
Thank you. Again, we want to say thank you so much for being here this morning and telling us about all that's happening on the tourism front. And we are wishing you all the best in ensuring that Tobago Carnival is a success. And every Tobagoan has a role to play in ensuring that they use their social media platforms, use their businesses, or whatever influence they have to make the Tobago Carnival a success. Whether or not you are into Carnival or you would be participating, it's still an opportunity, to have people come to Tobago to relax, just to be in the environment and have a number of different activities that help to engage the public. And again, we want to say all the best. But guys, before we leave off this morning, we want to remind you that this evening there's a closing ceremony at the Plymouth Hard Courts. That's because there was a Plymouth Blackrock district netball tournament. This would have taken place over the last couple of weeks, and today is the actual final prize giving ceremony. So you can go down at the Plymouth Hard Court and be a part of that. They're asking you to come and enjoy, where there's lots of fun for the entire family. So they want you to come out and support the persons who did participate in this tournament. This is your opportunity to do so. And the first prize for the entire tournament is a challenge trophy and $5,000. Second prize, $3,000. Third prize, $2,000, and fourth prize, $1,500. Again, we want to congratulate the Plymouth Blackrock District for this netball tournament and engaging the women in this style of sporting activities within the district. So you want to be a part of that. There's a number there if you want to call, if you want to, get more information. There's even a prize for the biggest flag waving posse for $1,000. So maybe I could just get a flag and go down there and just start waving, because I could really do with $1,000 today. Guys, have a great day. I am Shenell Felix, and I want to thank you so much for all that you've been doing to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing and continue to do to make Tobago Updates #1. Have a great day.
Let's go. It's a brand